Hello, and welcome to my Monday stream. So what was I doing today? I took a sample from last week, and I was just trying to keep things open because I think I've been putting in, again, there's this cycle that I do where I put a lot of rules on what I'm supposed to do, and I kind of took those rules out just to see what would happen today and last night in particular, and was just kind of like trying to give myself permission to just, explore again. And so I took this this sample and just kind of worked out some different start points to loop. I set this up as a ping pong loop, and I shortened the time. I made sure that the time was actually activated there for length, and then I made them really short sections so you could hear kind of the loops. And this is actually being layered, so this is what it sounds like by itself. And there was something kind of James Blakey about it that I enjoyed, so I just kind of went with that and kind of built off of it. So I'll show you kind of what I did. I actually programmed my OB6 down here with some accompanying notes because I was like, oh, I like the melody there, and I kind of want to add something. So over the course of like 2 different tracks, and I'm kind of just dabbling in using MIDI for the OB6 because the keyboard just kind of makes me naturally gravitate towards using it that way. But yeah, I've just been kind of slowly uncovering the possibilities of using the Octatrack to control it. So here's I'll mute this for now, and then I'll show you. And then here's my second channel here. What's interesting about MIDI tracks is, I can unmute this and then it'll only start playing on the next note that it triggers, which makes sense. It's just like, it's basically just telling it commands. But what's kind of cool about that is, if you have, for example, some kind of an ARP, for example, and I'm not going to set it up right now, but if I had multiple ARPs going on different tracks, and this is a 6-voice synth, so I could potentially have, quick mute set up, and then kind of like be muting the MIDI sections. Just get different configurations of notes, treating these tracks as though they're individual voices would give me some versatility there. And then I layered some reverb on it. And I can slowly show you what I've been making. So that's kind of where things are with that idea. And it would be nice to have some kind of a bass line with that. I think I might just try to configure something myself without, connecting this. Because I'm actually picking between the Minotaur and the OB6 right now, and I don't really feel like going to grab another MIDI cable. I try to be as minimal as possible when it comes to connecting multiple devices, because I don't really want to get... I should probably just hide this, but anyway. It's a great device, don't get me wrong. I already miss it. I mean, because the thing is, I could also, go ahead and sample this. Here. So now this is in there. And I can mute these two. Oh, it's quiet. I should probably save that one because I do like that a lot. And what's kind of fun about this whole process is over time you're just like, oh, I have all these awesome sounds that I can then recycle and create whole new sections too. Much louder. For some reason last night when I was trying to figure out how to get that chord to work. Something like that, maybe. Well, that's kind of fun. It's going to be an A with a 6 semitone down. It's -6. Hello, Rustic. Welcome. Just kind of doing my math here. So if we do a tritone here with an A with the 6 semitones down, then up 1, B flat with 2 below that. So B flat with an 8, -8. Oops, one more. Don't want it to be a major chord. Something was kind of cool about that. Not really where we want to go. Dun, 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 B flat. Yeah, for sure. The part thing is definitely an issue. Although, I will say that I've definitely found it a lot more freeing to work with banks more frequently, because then that does give me more parts, because each bank has 4 parts, but you can have up to 16 banks in a single. Actually, I think you can have 64 banks. I might be wrong about that. I think it is 16 banks, but each one has 4 parts. So you really just need to start new banks every time you need more parts. One thing I also noticed about MIDI control, which is kind of fun, is that each of these tracks has its own set velocity. So I can increase the volume of a melody and then reduce the volume of like a bass line if I separate them that way. So a bank is right here where it says bank. If you hold it down, you can switch to a different one the same way you can switch to a different part. The same way you can switch to a different pattern. And each bank contains 16 patterns and 4 parts. So if you run out of parts, one way you can get past that is by beginning to store your 5th part in bank 2 instead of in bank 1. So then you would just copy your part over from bank 1, then copy it into this one, then make your changes. So you might have to split it over multiple banks, but each project has 16 banks with 16 patterns contained within each bank, which means you have like what, 256? Is that right? 16 times 16? I think 256 different patterns available to you across like 16 times 4, 64 parts in total. Which is why I also recommend, oftentimes I recommend separating your songs by bank, because then that means I have, 4 parts that I can dedicate to a single idea, instead of having the entire project be 4 parts. So there's that. I was also I wanted to take some time to explore some of these Clark samples that I acquired online. If you do some digging, there is, I think a few years back, Clark released stems for his album Death Peak. And I've been talking about them, but I haven't really taken the time to listen to them and try to build around them. They're not the kind of thing that you can just, plop into a track and it works. So I'm kind of just messing around with them to see what's in here. A lot of nice cool sounds, right? Maybe something like that. And I'm actually going to go back to bank 1 and do what I did in the past, which is rename part 1 after the tempo that I want this to play at so that I keep track of it. And that way, oh, I didn't save it, did I? Rename 77, enter. Save all, cool. So now that we move on to bank 2, let's come up with a new idea. And some ways that I like to mess with this, and this is kind of like how I treated that first section. I don't know how long this track is. In fact, I should probably just play the whole thing and just hear what it sounds like before we move on. And I'll do it without time stretch as well, so that we can just get a sense of what it's like. Shit. Wow, there's a lot going on in there. Maybe I'll switch to a different one. I can't believe I just turned that knob and it went to 64. A lot of cool sounds. So just going to try to keep an open mind here. And setting things to ping pong delay. We're not going to worry about time stretching or whatever. I just kind of want to be able to mess with this and not know exactly what the tempo is or whatever. I just want to use the original sounds. One way you can kind of navigate around a single sample like this is, let's give it 2 bars and a few different trigs. Or we can even just do it something simple like this. And we'll use something to keep time. This has been kind of like a nice sample. I can barely hear it though. Hold on. Why is it so quiet? I think I'm just going to switch this out for something a little bit more substantial. Flex machine into... Let's just use a chain. Oh, and there was also no like bass in here. Actually, found sound. Okay, it's kind of nice. Okay, so here we are with this sample. Sorry, I'm just giving my arm a little bit more room because it keeps running into this section, this knob interface I have here. Okay, so we are listening to this found sound thing to keep time, and then we're listening to this. And what I want to do is make choices that put me in the seat of deciding whether I like something or not, as opposed to coming up with stuff spontaneously. And that's kind of the essence of making music anyway. But it's just kind of like how much can I turn that out of my own hands and move it into something like a formula. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to choose the LFO one to control the start point. I'm going to give it a saw wave and trig sync trig so that it's synced up. Then I'm just going to move the depth to 32. And I believe the values on the depth here correspond. So like depth being 32, if it's bipolar, it's going above and below the midpoint of this spot. So if I choose 17, it's going to go 16 below, 16 above to make 32. Oh wow, I already fell in love with whatever just happened. So what happened was this trig was set to first, and then I really liked how it changed the second time around, so I want to preserve that exact thing. So instead of doing it that way, I'm just going to have it play once every 4 times, so it should create the same effect. Maybe just one out of 2. You can do all kinds of things to this from here to affect it. Like, say I wanted to adjust the pitch randomly. This is a trick that I've been kind of borrowing from, I think it's Ivar Triti. Maybe if we turn down the reverb a little bit. Just turn it off. Maybe if we just speed it up a little bit. Kind of into that. And then there's, what if we do a filter? into that. I'm going to record that. Then we have to do all this bullshit all over again. 64, trig 212. There's gotta be, I just haven't found it. I haven't done it. The whole saving your default settings thing. Okay. Oh. Why did it stop? I think what I need to do is turn this LFO off so that I'm not thinking about too many things at the same time. Getting into Fortet territory. Kind of want a more compelling synth though. And compelling is probably the wrong word. Because I'm looking for something that's a little bit flat. Yeah, maybe all of these are a little too interesting. I'm tempted to also just try something a bit more stabby because there's just so much going on already. I think I'm just going to record this so that I can move on. looping probably. Why? Oh, because it's just one thing. So it needs to be... Ooh, yeah, I found a pattern in my head. And it's going to be swung. Yeah, I did, for the record, start a new project. And I did that because I didn't want to think about my audio pool being interrupted or messing stuff up. So in this new version, I'm just kind of enjoying saying, save and assign sample to the next available slot, and then just kind of moving my way down this thing and figuring things out as I go. But it's working out so far. Copy this over to this part. And then there's things you can do with this, like, let's try. Trusty old filter LFO. There. Wrong LFO. Fun, nonetheless. Yeah, I wanted it to be more of an abrupt. Bum, bum. And then we're going to save that copy. Save. Overwrite. Cool. And then I won't assign because it's actually going to be the same exact file, I think. Then copy this. I think I need less depth, more width. Yeah, because what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for that last part to be louder, and I'm going to move this up a little bit. Yeah, so that last one isn't going to have an LFO, and we're going to move this right there. Actually, no, we're going to do it the other way. No, move this over here. So what this is this is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so we're going to put it right there. And then this is going to be a copy of this. But a trigless trig. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm telling it to turn off this LFO filter. Shit. Just reset my whole thing. Yeah, so I basically do the same thing there. And, you know, you could do this a number of ways. The way that I have it right now is it's a 4-bar loop. You can see the entire thing take place over this course, but I'm actually, it's somewhat inefficient because I'm basically telling it to do a similar pattern in a more complicated way. Another way you could do this is set this back to ×1 and give it a 2-bar loop. And then now I have control over the exact point. So I don't have to, you know, push it like that. I don't have to play it on like a half step because now the steps are 16th notes. So where we're going is right here. And we're going to tell it to the only problem with that is that this is now going to play only once. So it's actually not that good of a strategy, I think. I think I just need to make it 4 bars again. That's actually kind of cool too. So one thing that I've also been noticing about these projects is that oftentimes when I move from one pattern to another, there's like some kind of loop that's just playing on because it's not being told to do anything. And so it just kind of plays out whatever was in the loop. And especially with tracks like this where I haven't really explored what's in that second section, it's kind of cool to hear it do its own thing. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of build something around that. Just kind of give it some space. Yeah, so I'm going to take this track and copy it over. Hold on. This track. This track. Copy it to these. And then this is going to be the next pattern, and in this case I'm going to tell track 3 to start silent. And then there's still room to do a little bit pitch craziness, if it sounds good. Because I'm really into this kind of like. In fact, I feel like the kick could come later. Cool. still like favorite part, definitely this transition right here. Honestly, I should probably take this and filter it down as I head across. Maybe I increase. Yeah, because I was also hoping for some kind of like pitchy weirdness that I've heard in Clark's stuff. Oh man, that would be really cool, wouldn't it? How do I do that? One way is to tell the LFO to slow the rate on trig. So we have a start point thing, which I'm using actively. We have a filter thing, which I tried and I'm not using anymore. So let's switch that out to rate change, move it down, give it a single half because it's only going to go from max to mid. And then we're going to choose how long that happens, but it is on trig now. So that means that if I miss the mark here, then it's not going to affect the sound of it. It has to happen. Oh, I see. Interesting. So I think what I want to do is create some kind of a and then I have to make it as long as possible so that I don't miss it. Copy this scene into the second. Basically what I want it to do is I want it to take this rate and I want it to The problem is that if I'm doing half, then I'm doing the upper half, and the upper half isn't actually being affected because the rate is at 64. So if I did this, we would get what we want, but it's not quite what we want because Well, one thing I could skip is this LFO, because what I'm thinking now is, what if I give it a very slow increase in reverb so that that is completely automated? Sorry, that's pitch. Reverb mix. How bizarre, right? Taking an LFO and affecting the mix of the reverb. It's very disorienting. But what I'm trying to do is figure out exactly how long it takes to do the whole thing so that I can... Because this is like 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Which means that this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Which means that this would be like that. This would be like that. Yeah, honestly, I think instead of using an LFO for this, I'm just going to do it myself. Cool. And then here's where we can introduce sample number 2, which I have not decided what that is. You know, I could grab one of my old samples, which I think I'm going to do because it's a little less scary than trying to find something that Clark did that's going to fit. So we're going to go to vocal kick, which is where my old project was. Dun, dun. Dun, dun. Maybe one up. Oh yeah, that's right. Cool. So one thing that I like about, taking samples like this and just fucking with them and seeing what happens is that if you choose a chord progression, like, I don't know, this is a melody. It's like in A minor. And if I slice it up and mess with stuff, there's a good chance it's going to work with A minor things. So then it's just kind of this way of me rediscovering these ideas with a new context. And especially if I, give it a really short length and then ping pong loop it. Because then I can, So oops. And in a case like this, when you have something that's very intense, you can put it way in the back and then give it an LFO that opens the filter every once in a while. So that way it's only there, you know, half the time, or you could even set it to random. I'm always a little bit skeptical about the random thing because I just want a little bit more control than that. And for some reason, those notes actually work pretty well. With enough shared notes, right? So let's start here again. And actually, I'm gonna take this out. Because I don't want it to come in at the very beginning. Yeah, so one of the other things I was going to try, since we're not messing with two of these LFOs, actually three of them, but with this particular section here, this is just beat and this sort of echoey thing. And in this case, I usually set it to send, but in this case I want to keep it as mixed because I want it to have that sort of underwater feel. But I don't want it to be playing quite as much. I want it to be more ornamental, and the randomness isn't giving me enough of that kind of like give and take where some of the time I don't really hear it happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a filter base with a square wave. And we're just going to give it free speed. And we're going to choose a pretty big range. Actually, let's give it one of these. And I think I want it to be slow because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up so that this LFO is controlling the speed of the other LFO. And that's hopefully going to give me that. So, okay, first we're going to turn this off and we're going to hear what this sounds like for now with a square wave. We can even turn off the Yeah, so basically we're looking for it to come out really loud. In fact, maybe the best way I should do this is actually by controlling the width, not the bass. Right? The only problem is that, oh yeah, the reverb isn't on. So if you add the reverb, you can't really tell, you can't hear that like suction silence thing. So now we take another LFO and we just use that to control this other one. So what is that, 220? Let's do another one at 220. So there's that, and then maybe, so basically what's happening is the square wave is being squeezed and stretched based on this randomizer LFO. There are other ways I could do that. I could add like a regular wave and you can kind of feel that motion, give it a bit more structure. But in this case, it's just kind of giving me, like, I don't even know what the rate's gonna be and it's switching it around, but it is switching between kind of like an on filter, off filter kind of effect. And then over time, if you hear that with everything else, it should just kind of sound like it's letting out these little, you know, emissions. And if I wanted to speed that up, I could just take this and take the bass speed of it and move that up. So then I'm getting a bit more, you know, sporadic, like a frequency, a higher frequency of sporadic sounds, if that makes sense. And I could move that up to here. I kind of like it lower better anyway. And then this needs to start silent as well. I'm pretty into this sound actually. To be honest, I kind of started with this idea and I'm digging it. On second thought though, I'm not really that into using an LFO to control the reverb. It doesn't feel like I'm actually hearing it. So I'm going to turn that off and just do it manually, you know. Maybe set it to mix even, you know. might as well. Balance. Give it some panning. Where are the hi-hats on this thing? I guess that. 8. I hate it. I guess I'll start working on another one while I can. Copy to number 3 part. And let's make it 100 tempo. 101. And rename to 101. And just switch everything out. What is this? Moog bass. That's it. A lot of these are so long. It says, glad this jam didn't make it into Hoova. Also cool. What a weird way to start a sample. Just like a fade in? What is that? That's pretty cool. Let's start that at static machine 1. Sure. Close this out. Give myself a break beat. It's been long enough. Let's throw it in. But I can always go with these ones that I haven't tried all that much. Not the white label stuff. SM101 stuff. Was there tempo 101? Loop. Not a chain, but a loop. Let's get it. Arm's starting to get tired. There's ugliness in there, but there's also some beauty. I'm still trying to find it. There we go. We just got to filter some of that low end out of the existing rave beat here. much. Too much. It's very much out of tune, for the record. Why is my synth so quiet? This is like a decent bass. Let's try it. I feel like this is one of those things that just requires like some kind of like doom 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 boom, some kind of bass line there. It's like kind of like an alternate disco thing. Anyway, actually, let's just go off of that and build a disco bass line from a sample that I think might work. Tape pinch breaks, no. Crepe diggers. Oh, too much reverb on this. Fun. There's a bass in here. Ah, this one? I'm actually in almost 110. It's actually kind of nice. Not really liking where that's going. don't know what I'm doing. But cat needs to leave. This is the closest I'm gonna get to a bass, probably. I think I'm gonna let it sit right there. Came up with some fun ideas. Each of them could be its own song. There's this. Definitely song material. Very into this kind of like weird shuffle-y thing. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of interesting ideas here, and I think there is something sonically binding them together that I'm finding interesting about. I think it's like just kind of like the machinery elements of all these things that I'm kind of drawn to this time around. So we'll see where this heads. And thanks for sticking around and checking out the stream. And enjoy the rest of your day. Hope everyone has a awesome week, and check in again on Wednesday at 2 p.m. PST.